I'm bored. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where I do miscellaneous things. I'm Jackelina. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on the channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. And if you're new here, welcome. I got more views and subscribers than I'm used to on my last video. I've been covering Love is Blind ever since after The Altar season 1 a couple of years ago. I covered season 2 and 3 in full and some of the international seasons, so I hope some of y'all stick around. At least I will be covering Love is Blind through season 4 and future seasons, and I finally got my gold cup. Can you believe it? I want to say this cup was sponsored by Brittany, a subscriber who watched my last video and donated. But thank you so much for being here. I'm just so excited that so many people are on the Love is Blind journey with me. So let's go ahead and cover the next batch of episodes, which is episodes 6 through 8 of season 4. Let me put this cup away where I won't knock it over because I'm so clumsy. I think my expectations were so high from the first 5 episodes that these next 3 episodes were kind of giving nothing to me. And as we've learned watching Love is Blind, when the drama's away, the producers come out to play, and I feel like you can really feel the producer's hand in these episodes. I never thought I would say this, but like, I miss Irina. I miss Irina so much. She was so evil. It felt like we could all band together and be haters together against her. I feel like that's why my video popped off, because sure, love brings people together, but you know what brings people together more? Hate. Being haters. Hate brings people together. In these next episodes, the couples return to their hometown of Seattle, leaving the honeymoons behind and going back to the real world. I think the houses on this season are the cutest they've ever stayed in when they move in together. They're like little townhomes. I don't know, I was like, dang, these houses are cute, and like, should I move to Seattle? I've actually never been there and I've always wanted to go. Let's dive into the couples, same order as before, and starting with Tiffany and Brett. Tiffany and Brett are perfect, unproblematic, golden couple. They feel like they're on a completely different show where there's no drama and it's all sunshines and rainbows. I don't know how they like guarantee they'll get like a good couple every time. I guess they don't really guarantee it on Love is Blind, but it feels like every season has that really strong couple that just is solid all the way through, except season 2, and I think that's why season 2 was so bad, or part of the reason at least. That's my least favorite season if you're new here. We see Brett meet Tiffany's friends, and her friends were just so cute. I loved her friends, and it was nice to see Brett and Tiffany retell the story of her falling asleep, and now it's like a funny story. And her friend says that Tiffany falls asleep everywhere. She's like the sleepy friend. I guess it is her brand, and I even got a comment on my last video of someone who knows her friend, and yeah, apparently Tiffany just is the sleepy friend, and I think every friend group has a sleepy friend. And Brett makes like a great impression on her friends. Brett is just so loving and vocal about how much he loves Tiffany, how beautiful she is. He's like in awe that like she's so beautiful, and so beautiful on the inside as well. And her friends are loving it, and they get emotional, and they're just so cute and so sweet. Like, this is truly what a good support system looks like, a good friendship looks like, and it's an interesting contrast to Micah's friends later, which we'll talk about. I really want this couple to work, and I feel confident because at least we've seen it before that there are those couples that are just solid from the beginning, but I'm always like so on edge leading up to the wedding. Like, what if one of them has been secretly playing her the whole time? I'm also so traumatized by SK last season that like I worry about if someone seems really nice on camera, like are they always like being nice, you know? So they visit Brett's apartment, and he is bougie, and immediately Tiffany coins a nickname for him, Bougie Brett. And then we have this other scene where Tiffany cooks Brett dinner and she burns the food in the end, and they're talking about finances, a very serious topic for any serious couple. And Tiffany expresses a little bit of worry about bougie Brett being bougie, just wondering if he spends his money irresponsibly, having so many luxury things in his life. He says he paid $1,200 for his carry-on suitcase, which is wild, and he doesn't seem worried at all. I assume he makes good money, and she probably does too. Didn't she say she was like really ambitious in the pods? And then Brett really sealed the deal for me here when he was like, if there are certain bills where I can help out more, pay maybe 75% or 60-40, and I was like, marry him right now. That's nice. Like, Brett is just given all the green flags and seems like the perfect man, honestly. And he's really handsome, and Tiffany's really beautiful too. Like, they're a gorgeous couple. They are chill and cool and just really, really caring about each other, and I need them to work. If they don't work, then love is not real. Now let's get into all the other couples, which is just mess all around. Starting with Micah and Paul, one of our more complex couple. They're the unlikely pairing of the group. So at first they are dealing with the fallout of Irina confessing to Micah, and it was off camera, so we don't see that part. Micah tells Paul that Irina told her that she is attracted to Paul, and that if like Paul has any desires for Irina. The audacity of Irina to be like, hey, is your man into me? Do you think he would like me? And you know that's exactly how she said it too, probably. And Micah's kind of worried about this because she's worried that she missed Paul and Irina flirting at the pool party, and she's like upset about that. When it's like, girl, yeah, you probably didn't notice Paul and Irina flirting because you were busy flirting with Kwame the whole time. But Paul shuts it down and is like, I have no desire or attraction to Irina, and she was a little handsy at the pool, but I didn't care because there's really nothing there. Starting in this conversation, I noticed this pattern of Micah putting down personality traits of Paul, and this became a running theme through these episodes. She like subtly makes digs and like backhanded compliments, like, Irina only likes you because she thinks you're hot. That sounds like a compliment at first, but she's really saying, why else would Irina like you? Irina mentioned that the reason she liked Paul so much is because they had a really cool conversation, whatever that was. I don't know. I mean, Irina's pretty superficial, so I'm sure she just thinks Paul is hot. But I noticed here that Micah was like, oh, she only likes you because you're hot. Maybe that comment alone would have not meant much, but it seems like Micah is frequently not liking who Paul is as a person on the inside. Also, it seems like they never got physical in Mexico, and it's after this conversation they validate their relationship and they say, oh, they might be ready to get physical. And the next morning, Micah says they got their physical connection to the level of their emotional connection. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So I guess they did it. The next day, Micah's like, oh, I'm actually gonna go see Irina. And Paul is like, oh, maybe I should see Zack today, actually. As if that's a spontaneous thought that Paul just had to go see Zack. So then we see Micah talk to Irina, and I was so excited because it's the villain of the season. She made her cameo. And Micah confronts her head on and is just like, you being into Paul and telling me that to my face put me in a negative headspace. And Irina's just like, oh, I really appreciate you though. She's kind of like, I'm sorry, he's your man. Fucking good for you, okay? I love that line. Like, she is so bitter, but disguising it under jokes. I miss her. I miss her. At the end, Micah said something kind of concerning. She said, like, after Irina told her she was crushing on Paul, she wanted to go punch Paul at the airport because she was just so worried something had happened between him and Irina. And I think it was a joking comment. Like, I don't think she's violent or something, but like, I just feel like she might have some jealousy issues, or like maybe as like a mean girl kind of, she hates the idea of like losing to another woman, so she was worried like Irina had one-upped her, but she hadn't, so now she's fine, I guess. Paul and Micah meet each other's parents. They're all pretty approving. Always on Love is Blind, they're like, oh, my parents are never gonna approve, they're so hard to please, and then they meet the parents and the parents are like, I love you, you're awesome, cool. Paul's mom says she's a helicopter mom, but like compared to the Love is Blind Brazil moms, like Paul's mom ain't got nothing on them. And the mom loves her, and Micah does acknowledge at the end, she's like, of course Paul wants to marry me, I'm exactly like his mom. And it's kind of like, okay, you can stop talking now, that's enough. And when they meet Micah's parents, she builds it up like they're gonna be really hard to please as well, and they're not. Her dad is basically just like, I like Paul because my name's Paul and his name's Paul. They keep getting these like weird little parallels between like each other and their parents, you know, but I think it's all coincidences. When she's talking to her parents, she mentions that like, oh, she's gonna be in charge of all the decor, all of the wedding planning, and Paul doesn't care. He doesn't care about any of it. Sometimes I worry about these couples that are so one-sided about the wedding. It's most typical with like the woman planning absolutely every detail of the wedding and the guy doesn't even know any of those details or care about them. It always feels like it's this whole charade for her and there is no personality of the guy in the wedding. I'm a big fan of weddings that are representative of the couple that's having it and their personality really shines through. I really love like more unconventional weddings. It's a union. You need to show both people's side of things. And also it shows that Micah just doesn't trust Paul with style and decor, which I mean, sure, fair. He's like a granola guy. They tour his apartment, which is very granola. He has knives everywhere, which I'm like, is that granola? That feels a little threatening, but I think it is. It's like for chopping rope and stuff, right? This is not my wheelhouse, obviously. And yeah, she just goes through his closet and is judging his style, like wants to get rid of everything he owns, basically, does not want to move into his apartment. And for some reason, Micah wants to split her time between Seattle and Arizona. I feel like they didn't explain this very well, like why she lives in both places. But she's kind of adamant that like, oh yeah, we can split time between Seattle and Arizona. And he's like, no. Haha, JK. Actually, not JK, not really. I just feel like this couple's not that serious about saying yes. Like, I think their percentage of saying yes is really small. But I don't know how they're gonna reconcile this. It is later when they meet her parents that she's like, oh yeah, we're gonna move into Paul's apartment. So I was confused how they went from her wanting to split time between Seattle and Arizona and get rid of his apartment because she hates it, to now she's down to move into his apartment. The big event for Micah and Paul is when Micah brings Paul to meet her friends while they're partying. She says that if she can present him well, maybe her friends will like him. Which again is just putting down Paul, making it feel like she has to present him and package him up in a way that's like acceptable to her friends and her crowd, rather than just letting him be himself and just hoping her friends support and accept that. We meet two of her friends. One is Shelby, and she's like the messy one, and another girl, I forget her name. From the get, I am not trusting Micah's friends because I feel like they're just gonna be a reflection of her, and we've seen like the friendship side of Micah in the pods. Even if in the pods Micah might have regressed a little bit to like high school days, I still think like if Micah is a mean girl like that, her friends also are gonna be. I mean, she chose Irina as her best friend in the pods. And I was correct about these friends, so apparently her friends are very strict about who they approve from Micah, especially this Shelby girl. She is very overprotective of Micah. They're sort of questioning Paul. They ask him what was the experiment like in the pods, and Paul just starts explaining sort of the setup of the pods, not even anything complicated. And then just a few words in, Micah's like, oh, he's always so scientific about everything. He's just so analytical. And the friends are like, oh, yeah, he's so scientific, like so nerdy. So many people have pointed this out on Reddit, but like 50% of Micah's vocabulary is the word like. They heard Paul saying an articulate sentence and did not know how to respond to it or comprehend it for that matter, and thought this meant he is the nerdiest scientist ever made. Because of this moment, Shelby, being tipsy and overprotective, says she doesn't approve of Paul, and Paul is like, I don't care, to her face. And I was like, okay, Paul, you go, girl. Right there, Micah tells him, like, that's a bad attitude to have. And he's just like, I respect this lady, but I don't care for her opinion. I was just surprised he said it in front of the friend. I do think Paul should have saved it for later, just for appearance's sake, and to not make a bad impression on her friends. But also he was right. Like, who cares what this very drunk lady thinks that doesn't even know him? Like, that's the thing. If she had said she doesn't approve of Paul, if Paul had done something bad, but Paul was just there and just said a sentence, and Shelby just decided not to because she's drunk. Who knows if she's gonna remember this interaction tomorrow. This Shelby girl was such a hater, and I was like, is she in love with Micah or something? Like, why is she so protective? The other friend was nice, I guess, and she approved, but like, they were still judgy and asking so many questions, and just kind of like, they felt a little condescending towards Paul. And I just feel like if your friend introduces her fiance to you, even if it's through a very weird reality TV experiment, as a friend, you should probably be supportive until, you know, that person maybe does something really bad to your friend or treats your friend poorly. But if your friend is happy, then there's no reason not to support as a friend. And I think Tiffany's friends are a great contrast to that because they were so nice and supportive and emotional, seeing that Brett really loved her. If Brett does something bad, I'm sure those friends will be there to support Tiffany. But Micah's friends were just so judgmental. And it's not a big surprise seeing how Micah is. It all checks out. And Paul is looking more and more like a fish out of water around Micah. At Chelsea's birthday party, which is kind of the final reunion party that they always have, some reunion parties for like the whole cast to mingle, someone compliments Paul's style and Micah takes credit for it and is like, oh, that was all me, I did all that. And even if it's true, it's just like, again, like adding another comment. It seems like every time we see Micah and Paul in a new place, Micah finds a way to make a subtle dig at either Paul's style, personality, nerdiness, things that make him himself. And then finally, Kwame and Micah talk again at this thing. They're a little more chill and not so flirty, I think not so drunk as well. She confesses that she's not sure about Paul, but hopeful. She really knows how to play Kwame like a fiddle, because at the end she's like, oh, I'm just still so excited to talk to you, and I worry for you, and I just think about you and hope you're happy. And Kwame like starts tearing up. I mean, that breakup hurt him so much, but it just didn't feel genuine on Micah's part, and it feels more like an extra little nugget to keep him on her hook, if that makes sense. Also, the producers made Amber show up to this gathering, and Paul just avoids her, so he's not interested and he's not playing the producers game here. So next couple is Jackelina and Marshall, and this couple is such a mess. The problems we saw in the honeymoon sort of continue into the real world. I mean, part of the honeymoon stuff was that she was worried about coming back to the real world. He says that she tends to stay in a mood for a long time. And Marshall just constantly is reaffirming that he's all in. Jackelina just keeps having these moments being emotional or breaking down or lashing out, and I just keep sensing this hesitance with Jackie. She did speak out on Instagram that her breakdown in Mexico was due to her family going through a really hard time with her father being diagnosed with cancer, which is such a heavy thing, and I feel so bad for her. I feel like this might not be the best time to do a international Netflix dating show where you have to get married at the end. Obviously her headspace is going to be there rather than in her relationship that is like brand new and has all this pressure and all these cameras around too. When they move in together, Marshall cooks her breakfast like from scratch, and he even went to the market to get the stuff, and I was like, oh, that's so like husband material. It's so sweet. He even had like the towel over his shoulder, like that's how you know he's legit. And she is shook that he made her a plate. I definitely understand why she's shook. I mean, she's Latina, and she's Latina, right? I think she's Latina. I think she said that. In our culture, it's very much a thing for women to make the plate of the man, no matter what. Even my mom is shook when I don't make the plate for my boyfriend when I'm over. This moment was already a hint that Jackie is kind of not secure with Marshall's level of masculinity. When they're talking to Marshall's family, Marshall is so in love, saying like, I knew it was Jackie from day one, and I'm so inspired by her, and just complimenting her. And she's just kind of there like eating her food like, that's nice of him, that's nice. And it doesn't feel like that level of emotion is reciprocated. And that's a big issue with this couple. Like, he is kind of putting all of his effort in, and she is not giving him much in return. And then in the last episode we saw, apparently they had a fight off camera. She said something along the lines of like, he wasn't enough of a man and he needs to be more aggressive, and so he wanted to be really upset, but he ended up walking away from the fight and moving out of their shared living space to avoid like blowing up at her, but he's now very confused about where they stand. When he comes back to the house on camera, we see Jackie's packing her bags, and she yells at him again about not being assertive enough, that they don't have sex, that he doesn't initiate things, and he claims he does try to. I just knew in Mexico when she said like she's only had toxic kind of relationships with men and like bad boy type energy. I forgot the word she said, but I was worried because if she's only had those types of relationship or she seeks those out, someone like Marshall is so different from that, and she might not know how to like be a good partner to him. The problem is in this case, Marshall finally does blow up. He did have patience for a long time, so like I see both sides here, but he finally gets upset. He like claps at her, and she gets mad finally that he clapped like in a aggressive way, but Marshall's confused because he's like, I'm being aggressive, like, isn't that what you want? She is very confusing, very mixed signals with her. I don't know what she wants. It just kind of seems like she might just be used to this toxic dynamic and thinks it's like what love is. I don't know. I feel bad for her. So Marshall does make a big mistake here, and he says he saw her as a project. And there could be some truth to that because he has been so like understanding and trying to like basically crack her. Like not crack her. Oh, I don't know. Say crack again, crack. He's like trying to crack the code of Jackelina, like trying to find a way to help her become his ideal wife and partner. Maybe he is a fixer in relationships, and he admitted it here, and that's a big mistake because obviously Jackie got very offended by that, as anyone would, I think, being told that. I do feel like Jackie was poking and prodding at him for him to say something toxic. And he finally did, saying like she's a project to him. And she can't get over this, but Marshall actually backtracks completely and is like, I didn't mean it, I'm sorry, and I don't see you that way, I just see so much potential in you. And after this, she goes and hugs him, and it seems like she liked that. But this dynamic in general is just not good. It's not good for either of them. It's not his job to fix her. It's not her job to change him. And so I just really hope this couple doesn't work out. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not going to work out. By the end of episode 8, they're pretty on the rocks. At Chelsea's birthday party, the producers bring in Josh, who was the other guy that Jackelina was between in the pods. Josh is so obnoxious. Like, I didn't remember, they didn't show him much in the pods, but like, he is obnoxious as hell, and the whole cast seems to hate him, so obviously he was invited by producers, not Chelsea, whose birthday party it is, if it's even her birthday. I don't believe it. Josh is there to like shoot a shot with Jackie, and he's so like cocky and overconfident he's going to do it, and he intends to do it basically, and he confronts Marshall and is like, I'm Mr. Steal Your Girl. He's just so obnoxious. It's like in any other season he would be the villain coming in dressed like that meme of The Rock, just stirring up shit. He was so drunk or tipsy or maybe on something else, and he tries to talk to Jackie and tries to like flirt with her. Jackie entertains it, and I'm like, Jackie, why are you entertaining this man? She's probably drawn to these toxic type of men that, you know, puff out their chest and think they're manly and stuff, and I don't know. I didn't understand him, and at the end Josh was like, if you're not gonna marry Marshall, pick me. Choose me, pick me. He became like a literal pick me. And we see in the preview that he's going to come back. So I'm just like, oh, of course. And he's going to be less drunk. And it seems like Jackie might entertain it. Her and Marshall at the Chelsea party seem to be very on the rocks. Marshall doesn't know where they stand. They're not really living together. So I think they're doomed. And I hope Jackie doesn't go for Josh. Like, he's just an obnoxious guy to cause drama for production. I don't really think there's anything there either. They better not say yes. I feel like I always say couples are toxic and then they randomly say yes at the altar, and I'm like, what? Next is Chelsea and Kwame, the compromising couple. Their general theme these episodes is that Kwame is compromising a lot for Chelsea, and Chelsea is not compromising as much back. She is sort of leading a lot of the relationship and expecting Kwame to follow. Oh my god, there's a bug. Get away. It feels like every scene in these episodes, Kwame is compromising something. The first thing is they discuss dishes and cleaning the dishes. He's okay with leaving dishes in the sink, and she's not okay with that. Sorry to tell y'all, I relate so hard to this because I have this very strange habit where I never leave any dish in the sink. Yeah, I'm a psychopath. I'm a weirdo. No, but like when I tell people that, they're like, you're crazy a little bit. So I get it. I think this compromise is fine if this was the only thing. It's not a big deal, but Kwame's like, fine, I'll put the dishes in the dishwasher more often. Also, did I or did I not kind of call it with Chelsea's apartment? I guess it's not live, laugh, love signs everywhere, but she did have affirmations. She just seemed like the type of person that has quotes on her walls, and she did a little bit. But I really, really liked her explanation for her decor. I loved her decor. It was all pink. I mean, obviously, like, I relate. She said that in her last relationship, her partner was very controlling of the decor and did not like her expressing herself that way, and when she left that relationship, she really wanted to express herself in her decor. She does mention, like, this is the way I express myself, and you're gonna have to deal with it, Kwame. And he's very chill about it, very cool. He doesn't care about the pink stuff. But again, it's a little bit of like another hint of Kwame compromising. Even though, again, this one on its own is not a big deal. Later, they start stacking up. So this is another couple where Chelsea's like, my parents are never gonna approve of this. My father is so hard to please and whatever. They even make the cliffhanger of the episode her father coming to meet Kwame. And Kwame's really calm about it all, and I really liked how he talked her down from anxiety there, and he was like, if you think I'm worthy of being a life partner, then I'm calm meeting your dad. And this was a total clickbait cliffhanger because the dad is just like, cool, nice to meet you. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. They do visit Kwame's apartment, and it's revealed that he lives in Portland, which is a few hours away from Seattle. His apartment is very bachelor, not in like the bougie and luxurious brat way, but in the clothes everywhere, lotion on the coffee table, bachelor, messy. And so they talk about him having to move to Seattle. She seems to have an in-person job in Seattle that she doesn't want to leave, family and friends. He does entertain briefly, like, can we move to Portland? But she's like, no. And this is where the compromises start becoming significant because Kwame is having this sadness about leaving his friends and his soccer. So he's okay with moving to Seattle. It's probably something expected because he went on the Seattle Love is Blind season, not the Portland Love is Blind season, which is now casting. He should have waited a year to be cast on the Portland season. This is the first time he mentions to camera that he's compromising maybe a little too much. I do think there are underlying issues with Kwame that don't have to do with the compromising. Like, I think the breakup with Micah hit him so hard. He's still a little bit hung up on her. He lights up when he sees her. I feel like the compromising stuff is just like giving him a logical reason to maybe not follow through with Chelsea. He does try his best and is very nice and good to Chelsea. It's just more of like a vibe and feeling I get, and knowing his history. Kwame is having this other issue too with telling his mom. He seems to not be able to get in touch with her, and when he finally does, he tells her about the engagement and she's very upset about it. This part felt a little staged as well. He had the phone on speaker and was talking to his mom. We never hear the mom's voice, but we just find out the mom did not approve of the engagement. The other theory here is that maybe the mom hates the engagement and the show so much, she did not give them permission to release her voice. But I'm not sure how releases work if you need a full release, like media release for voice, if you're not on video. I feel like you probably do. Or he just had the conversation off camera with the mom, and then producers were like, actually, could you like pretend to have the conversation again? So the final big compromise with this couple is they go bathe her little dog, Rocky. He mentions that she treats the dog like a child. Hashtag millennial. She is the millennial queen of the season. She mentions that she wants 6 kids. I don't know what the hell is up with these Love is Blind couples wanting so many children. In this economy, it's like unfathomable to me. I mean, maybe she makes good money. He does mention that she works 7 to 7. I'm like, girl, how are you gonna have 6 kids working 7 to 7, 12-hour days? And then also she's like, oh, at the beginning you just strap them to your front and they don't do anything. Have you met a baby? That makes it sound so easy. That is not how motherhood is. And Kwame is kind of like, I want to travel with you. And she's like, we can travel with kids. Ah! I'm getting war flashbacks to every time I've sat near a toddler on a plane. And he finally admits to her, like, it seems like his side of the compromise in this case is bigger than hers. So at Chelsea's birthday party, Kwame tells Tiffany that he's compromising a lot. So now it's like getting pretty clear that he thinks he's over compromising with Chelsea. Like I mentioned earlier, Kwame and Micah reconnect at the party. Micah asks him if he's questioning, and he gives the look again, the same look we saw at the pool party. It seems like, yeah, he's questioning. He falls right into Micah's trap. I'm calling it a trap, but it's subjective. But he gets kind of teary when she's like, I still think about you. I still worry for you. I hope you're happy. So we'll see. I don't have much hope for Kwame and Chelsea. I mean, it's possible they could be one of those couples that I don't think is getting married and then do. But I just feel like the compromises have really stacked up. He's very aware of it. So I don't think this is the best timing for them. I feel sad because I like Chelsea, I like Kwame. They both seem to have like a healthy approach and are trying to make it work, but I worry about this uneven compromise situation. Moving on to our final couple. Oh my god, I can't do it. Formerly Zack and Irina, and now is Zack and Bliss. The cliffhanger last episode is Zack meeting Bliss for the first time and saying, I made a mistake choosing Irina. I love Bliss, stan Bliss. Still, her response to Zack is pretty mad, like still calm, but she's like, that's annoying to hear. I just admire Bliss just being honest. Again, she says like, you choosing Irina makes me question your judgment, which is what she had said in the pod. Question his judgment. It's bad. She calls him out for like backtracking on the choice, but he's trying to turn on the charm and trying to like remind her of their connection. He asks about his eye contact, if it's creepy. She does not find the eye contact creepy. When she leaves, it does not look like promising, like they're gonna talk again. She says something like, it was very interesting to meet you in person, which is not the most positive. Goodbye. And then she leaves. I just knew at this point, like, producers want them together so bad. I feel like since season 1, they've wanted a situation where someone from the pods comes back when like a relationship doesn't work out. They tried to kind of make it happen with Kyle and Deepti, but obviously that was like all very fake. So in episode 7, Bliss visits Zack at his home and he makes her dinner. He says he's good at cooking. She says she's good at baking. I feel like they're just trying to emphasize how compatible they are. Bliss was turning a look in this scene. I really enjoyed her a little glammed up. He said he was good at cooking, but he ended up ruining the steak. I don't really understand steak stuff, so I don't know how he ruined it, but he ruined it somehow. And she says something like, oh, maybe the steak getting ruined is a sign that I should go home. I'm like, is this a hostage situation? Is she the hostage of the season? We know we had one in season 3. Zack luckily made backup shrimp, so they had shrimp. They just have sort of like nerdy banter. They establish in their first conversation that they're both a bit nerdy. He says like she has a nerdy voice, but it doesn't look nerdy. And I feel like she doesn't show any nerd. Bliss is softening up to him, but still gives him a hard time about choosing Irina. She does say to the camera that the chemistry is coming back, which I'm like, just secure the bag, girl. Like, fine. That's what I had said in my last video and predicted, like, if Bliss wants fame, then she can entertain Zack longer. However, nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. So they go on this date on a boat. They do criticize Furbies at one point and gremlins. That's, I guess, their dirty talk. He puts his hand on hers, and at one point he asks to kiss her and she says yes, and we don't really see the angle, but they seem to kiss quickly. At this point I was like, Bliss, you don't have to listen to producers. It's okay. You can take it easy with Zack. And then Zack starts digging in his pocket. Immediately I was like, no. What are you doing? He proposes. He proposed, and I was like, Bliss, no, you can secure the bag, but you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this, Bliss. You don't have to do this. And then she says yes, and I was like gooped and gagged. I don't understand what happened. On Reddit, and I imagine y'all watching, a lot of people are on board with this couple at this point. They really like their chemistry. They think they're good together, and they want them to succeed and follow through with the marriage. I just feel like it's not real and organic enough for me to buy into them being like that real. I don't know if I buy this chemistry. I think some people really see the chemistry and some people are more like and I just don't believe she's all in. Maybe I just don't understand the way she expresses very well. I just feel like him not choosing her in the pods is a bit of an unforgivable mistake. And she does talk about this and talks about like, it's hard to battle my pride and my ego and still say yes and entertain this man. Their journey of like getting together post honeymoons feels the most like produced to me from the season so far. Maybe now, yeah, they're engaged. She did say yes and she might mean it, but part of me feels like she's just down to be on the show and is going to just walk away on wedding day. On his side, I feel like he's more willing to follow through, but I don't know. I just feel like this was encouraged a lot by producers. So after the engagement, they just move in together. The weddings are like 2 weeks away at this point, and they still have to stick to the same timeline. That's not fair. They don't get the same amount of time as other couples of being engaged, which again makes me cynical about them following through on the wedding. She does confront him more seriously later on about how she has to battle her pride and ego to get over what he did and his choice. She acknowledges that she's been very forgiving. This is what I love about Bliss so much. She like really knows her worth, and that is the battle she's going through, because as someone who really knows their worth, it feels wrong to like go with this guy who made you his second choice. And he tries to argue, I mean, he's a lawyer, so hello. He tries to argue that like she's technically not his second choice because as soon as he met Irina, he didn't want her. And it's like, she's still your second choice. Like, you chose someone in the pods, you chose her second. There's this one point that a lot of people have wondered if it's a red flag. Bliss is getting vulnerable about the Irina stuff and is like, I know I'm better than her. She didn't say it in this way that was like condescending. Zack is like, there's that pretentiousness, which makes it sound like he has called her pretentious before, and saying it again in this case where I don't feel like she was being pretentious. She was being vulnerable and at this point really needs validation. And Zack does give it to her. Zack does say like, I want nothing to do with Irina. I don't like her. But I feel like that doesn't change the fact that he would be with Irina if Irina had been a chill, normal person that didn't hate him on the honeymoon. I wish Zack would just own it and try to figure out why he chose Irina in the pods and explain that to Bliss. A lot of people on Reddit and even in my comments last video theorized that like maybe Irina reminded Zack of his mom, who was in a profession that's harshly judged, or maybe the people around her. There could be a reason why he chose someone like Irina that had clear red flags that he noticed. I wish he would just get vulnerable with Bliss and say, you know, I chose Irina for these reasons, and that's probably not the healthiest way to make this kind of choice. So I don't know. I just don't like how Zack is trying to just argue she wasn't second choice. At Chelsea's birthday party, they attend, and all the women seem to be really happy that Bliss is back. I mean, they're probably glad Irina's not there as well. Zack is really happy to be with Bliss. He comes in and kisses her like right in front of Micah, which I think it was all much. Okay, Zack, chill. Bliss doesn't seem to mind too much. She just doesn't seem all into me either. And then on top of it, in the preview for the next episodes, it seems like his parents don't like Bliss. He's given her a million reasons, and she just needs one good one to stay. JK, I don't know if there's a good reason to stay. Maybe this is a couple that won't get married, but maybe we'll date, have a redo of like Raven and SK without all the cheating mess. Let's go with that optimistic take here instead of the super cynical one. I feel like Bliss and Zack will say no at the altar, but perhaps we'll continue dating. I think that'd be a good choice for them. They just need a little more time. Like, she came in 2 weeks to the wedding. That's really not fair. So yeah, that was episodes 6 through 8. They were not very exciting. Sorry. These couples are progressing. I'm not hopeful about many of them. just Tiffany and Brett. Everyone else I am highly questioning. I would love to hear which couples y'all are thinking are gonna make it. Thank you so much for being here and subscribing and all your nice comments on my last video. There were so many comments. I was reading them all. I'm just really humbled and really happy, and I'm so glad I get to be on this Love is Blind journey with y'all this season. My next Love is Blind video is probably gonna be in 2 weeks, because this Friday they're dropping 3 more episodes, and then it looks like the finale is gonna be the following Friday. That's how they did it last season. I'm not positive that's how it's happening, but I plan to be back here in 2 weeks to review the finale of season 4. I might have a little video between there of some other topic I'm working on. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on the season so far, of the moments of this batch of episodes. I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Keep it simple, it's just a reality TV show. I gave my disclaimer in part 1. We really don't know these people, and we can only judge what we see on the show. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos once or twice a week about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.